Hello everyone. I'm very glad that you listened to my story. Please give me a follow and like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment and provide feedback so I can improve the sound quality. Yes, we invite you to listen to part 2 of the series. Chapter 18, What Lovers Should Do. I don't care if it's the righteous sect or the devil sect. I'll kill them all. Once Lang Wuyan's voice echoed throughout the hall. A terrifying pressure surged out, suppressing Elder Sun's breathing. She looked at the figure that looked like both a god and a devil and was incomparably shocked. This was the pressure of an emperor-level expert. Just a hint of it could make the average person experience hell. Soon, Elder Sun's feelings changed from shock to excitement. After all, the stronger Lang Wuyan became, the stronger the sect's position became. As long as Lang Wuyan was an emperor-level expert, the Yueyuo Temple would be the top sect in all the vast lands. Hail to the sect master under your leadership. Our Yueyuo Temple will absolutely trample those other sects, no matter if they are following the righteous or devil path. We will achieve supremacy. Elder Sun's expression was feverish. Lang Wuyan calmed herself and shook her head. Your words are too flattering. In fact, she wasn't interested in the so-called supremacy, nor was she willing to fight with other sects. As long as no one else came to provoke her, she would rather stay on Demon Peak every day. Apart from cultivation, she would only be concerned with love and romance. Thinking here, Lai Ran's image appeared in her mind, and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl upwards. Scramble for supremacy in the vast lands. How could it be more fun than to have a relationship? You don't need to be modest, Master, Elder Sun said, looking back at our past generations of sect masters. Your cultivation is the strongest. Besides, you are the one who cares most about the disciples I have ever seen. For this reason, I will always admire you deeply. Creatures below the emperor level were all ants, as transient as a fleeting cloud. How could an emperor-level expert be like Lang Wuyan and personally guide sect disciples in cultivation? I'm just doing my duty. Lang Wuyan was somewhat embarrassed to be praised like that. Elder Sun continued, I'm very clear how much concern you show those disciples. Especially your prohibition on love and romance is your most correct decision. Lang Wuyan, to keep the disciples away from the 7 emotions and 6 sensory pleasures, and let them concentrate on cultivation. This is the best way to let Yueyuo Temple grow stronger. Besides, you've led by example yourself. You've never touched a worldly heart in so many years. You really are the greatest sect master of the last generations. Elder Sun gave a thumbs up, praising her without regard. The corner of her mouth twitched. Haha, this is what I should do. If this old woman knew that I had already fallen in a relationship, she would probably spew 3 liters of blood. I truly admire you. Elder Sun still had to say more, but Lang Wuyan hastily interrupted. I've suddenly gained some enlightenment, so I need to enter seclusion and cultivate. If there's nothing else, you should go back first. She was afraid that if this old woman chatted for a bit longer, she would find a hole to dive into. Have you gained enlightenment again? Elder Sun stood up and said excitedly. Congratulations, Sect Master. Then I'll go back and leave you alone. Bye. Bye. Lang Wuyan finally let out a sigh of relief. At this moment, a female disciple walked into the hall and bowed, reporting to Sect Master. Sheng Zai begs to see you. Rainer is here. Lang Wuyan was pleasantly surprised. Just as she was about to speak, Elder Sun said, the Sect Master has just gained some enlightenment. She needs to go into closed door cultivation immediately. Make Sheng Zai come back another day. Lang Wuyan was dumbfounded. The female disciple asked, Sect Master, should I send Sheng Zai back first? No. Lang Wuyan suddenly stood up. Elder Sun was stunned. Sect Master, didn't you say you wanted to enter seclusion? Ah, this. Lang Wuyan said. Enlightenment is elusive. I realized that it was just an illusion and not true enlightenment just now. Really? Elder Sun felt that something was wrong. Let Sheng Zai come in, Lang Wuyan instructed. Yes. The female disciple backed off after responding. A moment later, Lai Ran entered the hall. Disciple Lai Ran greets the master and also Elder Sun. Sheng Zai. Elder Sun nodded. Lang Wuyan cleared her throat. Ran. Come here, ahem. Why are you looking for me? Seeing that there were outsiders present, Lai Ran naturally wouldn't tell the truth. He rolled his eyes and said, I'm having difficulty in my cultivation. I'm here to ask the sect master to solve my confusion. It turned out that Lang Wuyan tried her best to suppress her smile. It's rare for you to be so diligent. Follow me to the martial arts hall. I'll check your cultivation progress. Then she quickly left the hall. At this moment, Lang Wuyan didn't have any of her emperor-level expert aura, but was just like a little sister next door. Elder Sun pinched her chin as she watched the two leave. Why do I feel like the sect master is acting weird? No matter how hard she smacked her head, she would never imagine that the sect master was actually in love with her disciple. Martial arts hall. Lang Wuyan held her hand behind her back. There's no one else here. Tell me, why are you looking for me? Lai Ran scratched his head. Disciple is here to apologize to you, master. Apologize. Lang Wuyan thought of what had happened yesterday, and the itching feeling on her chest rose up again. You, what's wrong with you? In order to win the spar, I've taken advantage of my master's concern. I truly feel guilty. I even accidentally touched your restricted area. All right. Lang Wuyan turned her head and blushed. Let's not talk about this anymore. Besides, I'm not blaming you. This disciple is relieved. Master. Lai Ran heaved a sigh of relief. By the way, what about your conditions? Have you thought it through? Lang Wuyan asked. I thought it through. Lai Ran nodded. Oh, tell me. Lang Wuyan was curious. Lai Ran cleared his throat. The disciple wants to do what a couple should do with each other. Master. Lang Wuyan. Chapter 19. Lang Wuyan's first. Chapter 19. Lang Wuyan's first. Do things that a couple would do. Lang Wuyan was taken by surprise and her white and tender earlobe instantly turned pink. Of course. You have to sleep together. The answer of that deaconess lingered in her mind. Rainer actually wanted to. Too embarrassing. Lai Ran said. Ever since I spoke to you that day, I have never done my duty as a boyfriend, so I want to use this opportunity to communicate deeply with you. Boyfriend's duties communicate deeply. These words are too explicit. Lang Wuyan's face turned even redder and smoke was practically coming out of her ears. But isn't this too fast? We've only been together for a few days. Disciple has been with Master for 10 years. I didn't mean it like that. Master, there's no need to be nervous. It's also the first time for this disciple. How could I not be nervous? Lang Wuyan couldn't help but say. But the gap in our cultivations is too big. Lai Ran shook his head. This matter has nothing to do with cultivation. That is also true. Lang Wuyan's fingers intertwined nervously. Do I want to agree with him? She felt like there was a rampaging deer in her chest. I told you yesterday that you can't ask for too much. Aren't you being too abrupt? I want to think about it. After struggling for a while, she decided to calm down first. All right. Lai Ran was a little disappointed. Lang Wuyan couldn't bear to see this and comforted him. You don't need to be in a hurry. There are still plenty of days ahead. You and I are in a relationship, and this fact will not change. This was the first time she said something like this. She could feel that her cheeks were burning. Lai Ran sighed. This disciple understands. However, this ticket will not be available after tonight. What ticket? Lang Wuyan was taken aback for a moment. Lai Ran took out 2 wooden signs and said, a group of singers has come to Coldwind City. I asked someone to get me 2 tickets. I wanted to ask Master to go there with me. Lang Wuyan gulped. So you just wanted to ask me to go there with you? That's right. Lai Ran scratched his head in embarrassment. This is my first date, so I am a little nervous. Lang Wuyan covered her forehead. So it is like this. This is so awkward. Since Master isn't going, then this disciple isn't going either. I'll give Elder Sun the ticket. I think I remember that she loves listening to music. Lai Ran thought to himself. No. Why? Elder Sun has gone to the western region on a business trip and has no time to listen to the music. But I just saw her when I came and Lai Ran thought back at her. Then you should be mistaken. Lang Wuyan looked serious. Elder Sun, who was walking halfway down the mountain, suddenly sneezed. She rubbed her nose. Who's talking about me? Lang Wuyan said. since you have already bought the tickets. It would be a waste to throw them away. I will reluctantly accompany you. There. Actually, it doesn't cost much. Master doesn't have to force herself. Finally, they agreed on a meeting date and then Lai Ran headed out first. When he was no longer in sight, Lang Wuyan was jumping around the martial arts hall disregarding the image of a sect leader. I'm going on a date. This is my first date with Ranner, so he gave it his all to win against me yesterday just to ask me to go on a date with him. He's so thoughtful. After a bout of excitement, she took out a small book from her bosom. Things to do in a relationship date and listen to music. Looks like it'll all be done today. Lang Wuyan's eyes were sparkling. Mount Xuanling, a garden at the back of the mountain. Lai Ran stood waiting, and a gust of wind blew behind him. Turning around, Lang Wuyan stood behind him. Today, her dress was even shorter than before, revealing her fair calves and round knees. She also wore a cute hairpin. Lai Ran was stunned and muttered, "Master, you're so cute today." Lang Wuyan had a smile on her face. "Your mouth is too sweet. This disciple is speaking the truth." "I know." The two soared into the sky and flew towards Coldwind City. Coldwind City. The city was located in the north of Mount Xuanling. It was the closest city to Yuyuo Temple. With Lang Wuyan's cultivation, she could arrive there with a thought. However, she chose to slowly follow behind Lai Ran. Not long after, the two landed on the streets of the city. The surrounding pedestrians glanced at them, but were not too surprised. There were a lot of cultivators in the city, and people were already familiar with their kind. The two walked towards the theater. Along the way, most of the people's gazes were focused on Lai Ran. Among the cultivators, there was seldom one with such an appearance. However, to the cold beauty, Lang Wuyan, they all seemed to ignore her. Lai Ran was a little surprised. His master was a rare and extraordinary beauty. Logically speaking, they should not be so indifferent to her. He glanced at Lang Wuyan. Her red lips and white teeth were pleasing to one's eyes. "You're very beautiful. Are these people blind?" PFFT. Lang Wuyan couldn't help but laugh. She shook her head and said, "As long as I'm not willing, they won't see me." She knew her situation. If she really revealed her appearance, she would face countless troubles. Apart from the troubles from her enemies and wooers, just the news of Lang Wuyan entering Coldwind City would put the whole imperial court in turmoil. It's better to keep a low profile. Zem NH1 if you find any errors, ads pop up. Ads redirect. Broken links. Non-standard content. Etc. Please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 20 Listening to Music and Killing. The theater was the largest and most luxurious in Coldwind City. The pavilion cornices were antique. Not only did it cover a huge area, but it was also decorated magnificently. The vermilion gate stood there imposingly. There was a black plaque on the main door. The plaque had 3 gilded words. Moon-watching pavilion. When the servant in front of the door saw Lai Ran, he quickly walked up. "Young master, are you here to listen to music or to watch the theater?" He had seen countless people and had a keen eye for guests. From Lai Ran's clothes and temperament, he could tell that Lai Ran was definitely a noble guest. Lai Ran took out 2 tickets and handed them to him. The manservant looked at the ticket and his eyes lit up. So Sir turned out to be an honored guest. His attitude became more respectful as he cupped his hand and led Lai Ran inside. "This is a ticket for 2 guests. There should be another guest, right?" the servant boy asked. Lai Ran glanced at Lang Wuyan on his side and said with a smile, "Shall be here soon. Take me upstairs first." Note in C19. Lang Wuyan has an ability that could make others turn a blind eye to her. So in this context, the servant could only see Lai Ran. "All right." One honored guest, the servant shouted and led Lai Ran into the luxurious private room in the center. The decoration in the room was even more magnificent. It was as resplendent as a palace. And the fragrance of the spiritual wooden furniture was present everywhere. Even the tea leaves and fruits here were more expensive than those in the hall. It could be seen that this place's master understood the mentality of rich people. Lai Ran and Lang Wuyan finally sat down in their respective seats. There were only 2 of them in the private room. They could see the entire stage from above, but the guests in the hall could not see them. This gave them a sense of privacy. For some reason, Ling Wuyan suddenly felt a little nervous. Lai Ran handed her a cup of hot tea. "Master, please have some tea." "Yes." She picked up the teacup and asked, "What tune are we listening to today?" Lai Ran thought for a moment. There are a total of 5 songs. The first one seems to be called Shunting Qiu. Note: Shunting Qiu. Spring courtyards and autumn moon. Good. The 2 arrived earlier and had to wait a while before the performance began. A beautiful lady walked onto the stage with her pipa in her arms and sat on the high stool in the middle. As soon as the song started, the hall fell silent. The melodious and mournful sound of the pipa resounded in the theater. It was as if a young woman was standing in the courtyard. She was mourning over the withered leaves. Beside her, there was only an autumn moon accompanying her. This piece flawlessly expressed the loneliness of love. The musician was very skilled and perfectly conveyed the essence of the song to the audience. Even Ling Wuyan's eyes became blank. She recalled the days when she was alone. She cultivated alone amidst the fallen leaves. She cultivated alone amidst the falling snow. It was clear that those days were real, but she did not have much of an impression of it. Nor could she recall much of those experiences. On the contrary, in the short 2 days after Lai Ran had confessed, she could remember everything that happened and every conversation they had very vividly. When she was alone, Ling Wuyan thought that this was for the best. However, after falling in love, she found out how difficult it was to have such a day. She felt like she could never go back to that life. Ling Wuyan stole a glance at Lai Ran. She saw that he had also sensed it and his face was as sharp as a knife at this moment. "Since you can't go back, just forget about it. In fact, this feeling is also very good." A smile appeared on her lips. At the end of the song, the audience was still immersed in their emotions. They were unable to recover for a long time. And there were even suppressed sobs. "This musician is great. She has the skills and the emotions. Her playing can move one's heart." Lai Ran praised. "Yes, she's really skilled." Ling Wuyan agreed with him. Just in the middle of the recess, a sound came from the private room next door. A loud voice rang out. "This is the best theater in Coldwind City. I think it's so." The others chimed in, just like what young Master Wang had said. "It is indeed so." Young Master Wang continued, "If you want to play a song, better play something cheerful, such as Night Song, Mo Chu Yu, or something like that. To play such a miserable tune, it's like a bitch that no one wants." Ha ha ha. That's right. Night Song and Mo Chu Yu were well-known folk tunes. The tunes and lyrics of these songs were vibrant and could only be heard in red light districts. Lai Ran and Ling Wuyan looked at each other, shook their heads, and smiled. No matter where they go, there is no shortage of these kinds of people. That young Master Wang had obviously drunk quite a bit of wine, and he couldn't speak clearly. Mentioning the tragic woman, "There's one on Mount Xuan Ling. Isn't it that old woman is suitable to listen to this song?" Who is young Master Wang referring to? Other than that cold demoness, who else could it be? Young Master Wang said teasingly. "I heard that the old woman hasn't been wanted for hundreds of years, and she won't even let her disciples fall in love. Isn't she psychopathic?" Shh, young Master Wang, don't dare talk nonsense. That person is an emperor-level cultivator. How could you casually talk about her? This is a matter of losing your head. The others hurriedly stopped him. "Look at your guts. There are many people talking about her in the entire world. Was she able to kill them all? I guess she's old and ugly, so that's why she's been single for hundreds of years. Right? Ha ha ha." Young Master Wang smiled mockingly. "Young Master Wang, stop talking. Let's toast." Silence. A moment later, Lai Ran stood up silently and walked towards the door. "Rainer, what are you going to do?" Ling Wuyan asked aloud. Lai Ran's eyes were as cold as iron. Kill. Chapter 21. Dating. Listening to songs. Eating candy figurines. Candy figurines. Killing him. Ling Wuyan shook her head. "If I want to kill him, it only needs a thought. So why should you act?" Lai Ran said. "But this is a boyfriend's responsibility." Ling Wuyan smiled. Alright. That's enough. It's not enough. He has to die. Lai Ran was really intent on killing young Master Wang. He had not only insulted the sect master of Yueyuo Temple, but his girlfriend. Leng Wuyan stood up and pulled him back to his seat. She said, "Actually, he said something right. There are a lot of people talking behind my back around the world. Can you actually kill them all?" Lai Ran gritted his teeth and said, "If I meet one, I'll kill one. If there are two, I'll kill them both. Let's see who else will dare to talk." Nonsense. Leng Wuyan was stunned, looking at the stubborn boy in front of her. A trace of warmth flashed through her eyes. Compared to the emperor level, they are all ants. Do you think I care about what ants think? In that case, am I an ant? Lai Ran raised his eyebrows. Leng Wuyan pouted and rolled her eyes at him. That's not what I meant. My lord boyfriend. That's more like it. Lai Ran raised his eyebrows and exhaled. The two looked at each other and smiled. The atmosphere gradually eased. Lai Ran couldn't help but sigh when he heard the clamor next door. Ugh, I really want to kill him. Alright, today is our first date. Don't let others spoil it. Leng Wuyan comforted him. Looking at her calm expression, Lai Ran's heart was a little confused. What had she experienced in the past hundreds of years for her to be indifferent to such criticism? She is a demon, an emperor-level expert. But at the same time, she is also a woman. When he thought of this, his heart ached. Who's old and ugly? There's no better-looking woman in this world than my master. The reason why master has been alone for hundreds of years is that those mortals do not deserve to stand by your side. He's just an idiot. Lai Ran was indignant. Leng Wuyan was a little shy. I'm not as good as you said. Of course not. Master is the cutest, most beautiful, and most gentle girl I've ever seen. Even the nicest words cannot describe you. Lai Ran swore, even though she had heard Lai Ran's flowery words many times. Leng Wuyan still couldn't resist such a blatant confession. She lowered her head and buried her cheeks into the fur collar of her robe. She stammered, I know. You need not speak so loudly." The gloom in her heart quietly faded, and her eyes seemed to be flowing with stars. No matter what the world is like, as long as someone liked you in this way, it would be enough. With something like this happening, they naturally didn't have any mood to keep listening to the concert. The two walked out of the moon-watching pavilion and slowly walked along the street. The air during winter nights was exceptionally fresh, the soles of their shoes making slight crackling noises with every step they took. Inside the snow, the fiery lanterns on the side of the road and the shouts of vendors, matched with the steaming heat, had the ability to calm one's heart and soul. The ruckus in the mortal world was the most comforting. At this moment, Lai Ran saw a certain stall and his eyes lit up. "Master, wait for me." After saying that, he trotted over. Leng Wuyan was stunned. Not long after, Lai Ran returned with an amber candy figurine. Note: candy figurine. Similar to a gingerbread man, but made of candy. Take it. Leng Wuyan reached out and took it. This was a fair-shaped candy figurine. Although its face was not as clear, its clothes fluttered in the air and gave it a kind of immortal-like, romantic charm. Lai Ran smiled and said, "When I was a kid, I would eat a candy figurine every time I went out to play. I always choose to eat a hero. I thought that if I ate it, I would be able to become a hero too." Leng Wuyan couldn't help but laugh. "Then after eating this, will I become a fairy?" "You already are one. You and your sweet mouth." "Hee hee." Leng Wuyan opened her cherry lips and took a bite. "Is it delicious?" Lai Ran asked. Looking at his curious expression, Leng Wuyan looked over and said, "You'll know if you taste it." Lai Ran looked at the bright red lip print on it and was stunned. Only then did Leng Wuyan come to her senses and hurriedly try to put the candy figurine out of Lai Ran's reach. However, Lai Ran's movements were so quick that he had already taken a big bite before she could take the figurine back. He bit the part stained with red and said ambiguously, "How sweet." Leng Wuyan turned her head as her face flushed red. "This is a candy figurine. It would be weird if it was not sweet. It's different. This time, it's not only sweet, it also has the fragrance of rouge." Lai Ran smiled wickedly. So cheeky, I don't want to talk with you anymore. Lang Wuyan stamped her feet in embarrassment and walked forward. Lai Ran quickly followed. Master, please give me another bite. No. This is mine. Just one bite. No, you've already bitten off the fairy's head. The bright moon reflected the two of them, and their figures in the snow grew longer and longer, gradually melding together. Chapter 22. Give him a chance to reincarnate. The two wandered around town for a long time. Lang Wuyan rarely came out to play. She was curious and wanted to try everything. Of course, everything was just a small taste. Sect Master, I really can't eat anymore. Lai Ran looked at the osmanthus cake she handed him and said with a serious expression, it would be too wasteful to throw it away. Are you going to do such a thing to the farmer uncle? Lang Wuyan asked with her head tilted. This is not something I bought. I have a clear conscience, Lai Ran said calmly. But if you don't eat it, I'll feel sorry for the farmer uncle. Are you trying to put me into a situation where unjust? Her mind took a strange turn, as expected of a female demon. What twisted logic? Are you going to eat it or not? I'll eat. Lai Ran tried his best to swallow the osmanthus cake. At this moment, another shout came nearby. Plum cake. Fresh plum cake. Lai Ran burped and broke out in cold sweat. Have you had plum cake before? I haven't had one yet. Lang Wuyan was indeed interested. Master, Lai Ran quickly stopped her. We've already eaten enough. Kulwin City's GDP has increased by at least 1%. Why don't we stop here for today? But I haven't eaten plum cake yet, Lang Wuyan quipped. Lai Ran followed suit and said, we can save it for the next date. Next date? Lang Wuyan's eyes lit up. She was already thinking about what to do on her next date. He took the opportunity to quickly pull her away. After they almost went all over Kulwin City, Lang Wuyan finished the date with a feeling of satisfaction. The two flew back to the sect under the dim moonlight, landing in a garden of Xuanling Mountain. At this time all the lights were already extinguished and only the sounds of a silent mountain night could be heard. The disciples and elders were already asleep. Because men and women were forbidden to enter a relationship, the Yuiwo temple didn't have much nightlife. Everyone had the good habit of sleeping early and getting up early, except for the sect master and the Shangzai. The night wind blew and Lang Wuyan suddenly felt reluctant. The first date ended like this. Although something unpleasant had happened in the middle, it made her understand Lai Ran's sincerity and their relationship became closer. Rainer, tonight are you happy? Lang Wuyan couldn't help but ask. Of course I'm happy. Lai Ran nodded. That's good. I'm worried that Yao'll become repulsive towards shopping after today. She let out a sigh of relief. After all, the original plan was to listen to music. As long as I can be together with you, Master. Even if we just end up wandering in a daze, I will always be happy as long as it's with you. Lai Ran's EQ exploded. You and your smooth tongue, I'll go rest. Lang Wuyan turned around and left with a charming smile on her face. Good night, Master. Good night. Lai Ran watched her figure disappear. He hadn't realized that his mentality towards her was changing. He was even starting to look forward to their next date. Of course, it would be nicer if I wouldn't have to eat so much. He burped, letting off a strong smell of osmanthus cake. But before I go to bed, I have to do something. Lai Ran's eyes gradually turned cold. Ding! A system prompt suddenly sounded in his mind. Mission released. Wang family's young master, Wang Yu, was completely heartless and full of evil. Please give him a chance to reincarnate. Wang Yu. Lai Ran was stunned for a moment. He sensed the location provided by the system and smiled. Kulwin City. Moon-watching pavilion. So it's that young master Wang. Looks like the system, and I finally agree on something. The show was over and the guests dispersed in groups of 2 and 3. A richly dressed young man staggered out. He was followed by several men. Ayo, young Master Wang, please slow down. Look at the steps and be careful not to fall. His companion came over and helped him. Wang Yu waved his hand and said vaguely, let go. I'm not drunk. I know that you're not drunk, but the road is too slippery. Young Master Wang, you are known for your ability to hold liquor. We all know this. His companions flattered him. Wang Yu waved his hand. Let's go. Another round. An obscene-looking man came over and said with a smile, "Young Master Wang, I've arranged for you to have a taste of some superior goods in the Spring Festival Pavilion. Do you want to try them?" Superior Wang Yu's lips curled and he said, "The ordinary girls in the prostitution house don't deserve to enter my sight. How could that be? They are all from good families. They've been drugged and are now in a daze. I'll wait for you to personally inspect the goods." The wretched man's smile became even more wicked. "Oh, interesting. Let's go take a look." Wang Yu was excited. The wretched man said flirtatiously, "Then the thing about us and your Wang family's cooperation." Wang Yu patted him on the shoulder. "Don't worry. As long as you make me happy, everything will be fine. All right. I'll be at ease with your words this way. Please. Let's go." The group left the moon-watching pavilion, completely unaware that a shadow was quietly following them. Chapter 23 Dark Moonlight. Breeze. Night of Murder. The same night, Wang Yu's group wobbled along the empty street. Because their destination was too far and they wanted to sober up, they chose to walk instead of sitting on a sedan chair. At this moment, the pedestrian light in the city had already been extinguished. What's left were the extinguished red lanterns on both sides of the road that were hanging high and the reflection of the dark moonlight that remained. The winter night wind whimpered, blowing the floating snow off the ground and fluttering in the air. "Yes. Why does it feel a little chilly here?" one of them whispered. "Chilly? Are you afraid of ghosts?" Wang Yu laughed. "No. But I feel a little chill from behind," the man explained. "Do you feel your back aching too when you pee? You probably also can't empty your bladder." Wang Yu patted him on the shoulder. "Brother, you're probably crippled down there." "Ha ha ha. Liu Sheng, I said you can't." There was a burst of laughter. Wang Yu chuckled and said, "If there are women in your family, I can help you take care of them for free. Don't thank me. It's all a brother's responsibility." Liu Sheng's face turned red and he gritted his teeth. Saying nothing, Wang Yu strutted forward and that wretched man suddenly grabbed him. "Wait! What, you are also afraid of ghosts?" Wang Yu said impatiently. The wretched man shook his head and pointed at the front. "There seems to be someone ahead." Wang Yu looked and saw a man standing in the middle of the street. His white clothes were very conspicuous in the night. "It's just some person, are we not humans as well?" Wang Yu scoffed and did not take the white figure seriously. When they got close, he even made a joke. "Brother, are you pretending to be a snowman in the middle of the night?" Lai Ran smiled. "Young Master Wang is quite humorous. You know me, Lin City Wang family's eldest young master. How could I not know you?" The few of them looked at each other and noticed that something was wrong. However, Wang Yu didn't realize it because of the function of alcohol. "You have a good eye. I didn't expect my big name to reach this cold wind city." "Haha." Lai Ran nodded. "Of course. Young Master Wang is notoriously bold." Wang Yu was stunned. "What do you mean?" Lai Ran's smile was chilly. "You were rude and insulted the sect master of the Yueyuo Temple and the emperor-level expert Ling Wuyan in public. Do you think you're brave?" No matter how slow Wang Yu's nerves were, he could also realize something was wrong at this moment. He took 2 steps back and said sternly, "Who are you?" There were many people talking behind her back in the world. "So you think I couldn't kill them all? I'll come at them one by one." Lai Ran's eyes were deep. "Let's start with you." "Stop him!" Wang Yu exclaimed and quickly retreated. The bodyguards rushed forward. However, in a blink of an eye, Lai Ran's figure had already disappeared in place. Wang Yu had just taken 2 steps when someone patted him on the shoulder. His body froze and he turned around in shock. What came into his sight was Lai Ran's smiling face. "Let me go. Let me go." Lai Ran shook his head. "You may have 10,000 reasons to live, but just one reason to kill you is enough." With that, Lai Ran raised his finger and lightly touched his forehead. The air seemed to freeze at this instant. Wang Yu's body exploded like a balloon. His flesh and blood splattered across the snow like fireworks on a winter night. He was only a mortal, and to Lai Ran, he was just as fragile as a baby. Lai Ran's white clothes didn't even get stained by the fine dust. He turned around and smiled. "Tell me, is he too courageous?" Everyone was shocked and their backs turned cold. At this moment, the wretched man said with a trembling voice, He is the young master of the Wang family in Lin City. His father is Wang Fang, a nascent soul realm expert. Aren't you afraid of the Wang family's revenge? He originally wanted to intimidate Lai Ran so that he could save his own life. He didn't expect Lai Ran to nod his head and said as if thinking something. Yes. That's right. Looks like I have to kill you to silence you. The wretched man was stunned, and a dark light flickered in his eyes. His expression froze at the last moment. His head fell and rolled on the ground for some distance before stopping. The rest of them covered their mouths, trembling and not daring to speak. Lai Ran said calmly, "If you want to avenge them, you can come to Mount Xuanling to find me. My name is Lai Ran. I'll fight you anytime." After saying that, he flew up and left. The reason why he said his name was not to be pretentious. He just didn't want to blame Lang Wuyan for this murder. She had already restrained herself. He was the one who had the killing intent. Everyone stood there for a full 15 minutes. After confirming that Lai Ran had really left, the rest of them staggered and slumped on the snow. Looking at the blood and flesh on the ground, someone couldn't help but vomit. Wang Yu died just like that. Just now. That person said that he belongs to Mount Xuanling. Isn't that the location of Yueyuo Temple? It's just a drunken spout. Yet it can't escape their ears and eyes. The top-level devil sect is truly terrifying. Their faces were filled with fear. They would never have thought that the sect master of Yueyuo Temple was just sitting next to them. Wait, Liu Sheng exclaimed. What did he say? He was called Lai Ran. They became silent. Lai Ran. Chapter 24. It's over a slip of tongue. The north wind whistled through the streets, and the air turned chilly. However, everyone's hearts were even colder than the cold breeze. Could this person be Lai Ran? There were people speaking with unbelievable looks. Liu Sheng laughed bitterly. He's from the Yulu Temple, and he's so young. Yet his cultivation is profound. Other than the Sheng Zai of the Devil Sect, who else can he be? Everyone seemed to be splashed with cold water. Lai Ran, the Sheng Zai of the Devil Sect. His innate talent was beyond compare, and he was born with a Taoist mark. At the age of 8, he entered the Yulu Temple. At the age of 12, he had reached foundation establishment, and at the age of 17, he had entered the Golden Core realm. This terrifying cultivation speed was something that was rarely seen in the entire vast lands. He could be said to be the reincarnation of an immortal emperor. He was Lang Wuyan's successor, the future sect leader of the Yulu Temple. If he had enough time to grow, he would definitely be a demon king who could trample on the entire vast land in the future. He was also listed as the focus of the major sects. Who would have thought that Wang Yu's drunken words would actually provoke such a person to personally take action? Wang Yu's death wasn't unjust. Liu Sheng stood up and said, "This is the enmity between Yueyuo Temple and the Wang family. It has nothing to do with our Liu family. Brothers, I will take my leave first." He then turned around and left directly. The others all reacted. This matter has nothing to do with our Zhang family. So is the Sun family. Wang Yu and I are not familiar with each other at all. I'm just passing by tonight. The Ming clan didn't participate in this. Just now, they had exchanged cups with Wang Yu to seek cooperation. But now, they were itching to get rid of him. They were done with the Wang family and they didn't want to be buried with them. That was the might of the Yulu Temple. All the clans and families in Coldwind City were tied up together. But with all clans tied up together, they were incomparable to the Yulu Temple. This group of old dogs just now. You were flattering, young master. But now that something happened, you wanted to be clear of responsibility. Wang Yu's bodyguard shouted angrily. They had come from Lin City to protect Wang Yu's safety. Now that Wang Yu had died, they definitely didn't have any good juice to eat. I will report it to the patriarch. Just wait for the Wang family's punishment. The leader of the guards spoke righteously. Hearing this, everyone paused for a moment and looked at each other wordlessly. Wang family isn't worthy in the eyes of the Yulu Temple, however. For us, this is indeed quite a problem. Liu Sheng sighed. HMPH. It's good you're afraid, the leader of the guard said complacently. The crowd didn't pay any attention to him and went on to exchange views with a low voice. Therefore, this matter must not spread. Then we can only exterminate them. Shang family seconded. The Sun family seconded. Meng clan. The guard leader was stunned. What do you mean? What are you waiting for? Let's go. Liu Sheng revealed a sinister smile. Kill them. Blood sprayed out. And the empty street once again held in pain. Lai Ran returned to the sect and took a warm bath under Akin's services. Today was the first time he had killed anyone since he had crossed over. However, he didn't have any guilty feelings. Instead, he took it for granted. This world was originally a chaotic world. It was a world where people had to kill each other to live an extra day. It would take tens of millions of reasons to survive, but only one reason would be enough to get killed. Wang Yu was indeed a damned person. When the system released the mission, it displayed the evil that the other party had done. Of course, Lai Ran was not interested in speaking for the righteous. Even if there were no missions, Wang Yu would also die today. As for that wretched man, it was purely because he heard what this wretched man had said earlier. Superior goods, they are all from good families. They've been drugged. He felt that this fellow was too disgusting and just cut him off by the way. He summoned the system, obtained an advanced treasure chest. 1. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the divine ability Demon Thrashing Fist. Divine ability. His heart skipped a beat. This was the first time he had received a divine ability as a reward. He looked closely at the introduction to the reward. The Demon Thrashing Fist was a Buddhist divine skill. When one uses his full strength, his arms will erupt with golden light, and Kai will be manifested on his fingers like a spinning wheel, emitting out dazzling light. With a single punch, the fiendish demons would wail and howl. It was said to be a powerful skill both for traveling and at home, killing demons, and eliminating evil spirits. Good stuff. Lai Ran expressed his satisfaction. He extended his right hand and circulated his divine ability. His hand immediately erupted with blazing white light, illuminating the bedroom like it was daytime. His right hand was translucent, and he could even see the bones and blood vessels beneath his skin as if they were made of white jade. Wow, that's amazing! Akin excitedly clapped. Sheng Zai, what's the name of this move? Lai Ran raised the brightness of the skill by 3 levels, then waved his hand and the white light went out. This move is called a flashlight. What a powerful flashlight! Oh, Lai Ran said curiously. Can you understand this move? Akin shook her head and said seriously, I don't understand. However, Sheng Zi's divine ability is definitely the most powerful. Lai Ran couldn't help but laugh as he pinched her little face. You're such a blind idiot. Hee hee. Akin smiled charmingly, although she didn't know what blind idiot was. This kind of contact made her very happy. By the way, Lord Sheng Zai, you came back late today. Have you been cultivating? As she massaged him, she asked. Lai Ran leaned comfortably into the bucket and replied casually. No, I went on a date with the sect master tonight. A date with the sect master? Akin stared at him blankly. Lai Ran. FCK. My mouth slipped. Chapter 25. How to talk about love. He had experienced too many things today, and the water temperature in the wooden barrel was too comfortable, which made Lai Ran slip up. As a result, his tongue really slipped. Are you saying that you went on a date with the sect master? Akin's face filled with endless question marks as she suspected that she had misheard. Ah. This Lai Ran's eyes turned. I meant that the sect master had summoned me for a meeting, or an appointment in short. It's not like what you think. He wiped his cold sweat. This explanation was far-fetched, and no normal person would believe it. However, Akin believed him and she suddenly said, so it's like this. Sheng Zai. You scared me. I thought it was a kind of date between men and women. Lai Ran awkwardly replied. How would that be possible? Sect master hadn't been close to men for hundreds of years and had forbidden her disciples to fall in love. How could she go on a date with a disciple as expected? I thought too much. Akin patted her head. Not only did she believe him, she even helped him find excuses. The corner of Lai Ran's mouth tugged. Yahaha. Other than Akin, no one would believe such a lame reason. Although Lai Ran knew that even if he told her about this matter, she would never spread it. but he still had to keep it a secret. Because this was an agreement between him and Leng Wuyan. I have to be more careful in the future. If someone else were to hear it, it won't be easy to explain. Demon Peak. Deacon Wang took a deep breath as she arrived in front of the sect master's bedchamber. Strange. Why did sect master summon me during the middle of the night? I haven't made any mistakes lately either. She walked to the door and pressed the door nervously. Creak. The door was unlocked, revealing a gap. Deacon Wang took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Leng Wuyan was sitting on a chair, her right hand supporting her chin. Her eyes were unfocused as if she was in a daze. A wisp of hair hung down from her ear, blocking her fair and delicate profile. Deacon Wang couldn't help being stunned. The sect master really is beautiful. It's a shame that such an iconic beauty is not interested in men. Deacon Wang sighed inwardly. Disciple has come to see sect master. May I ask the reason why the sect master has summoned me this late at night? She said. Respectfully. Leng Wuyan snapped back to her senses and said, I've encountered a bottleneck in my cultivation recently. I think it's because I don't understand worldly affairs enough. In order to improve my understanding of the Tao, there are a few small questions that I wanted to ask you. I hope you can answer them frankly. Deacon Wang hurriedly said, If it's about the sect master's cultivation, I'll do my best to help with anything. Very good. Leng Wuyan nodded. Do you remember what I asked you last time? Deacon Wang thought for a moment. The talk about love. Cough. Cough. No. It's regarding the method to see through the mortal world. Leng Wuyan corrected herself. Last time, you said that dating, listening to music, eating candy figurines, other than that, what else can be done by two people in a relationship, sleeping together? Deacon Wang gave the standard answer. Leng Wuyan glared at her. I'm not talking about the carnal relationship. It's about how the emotion between the two partners can be further cultivated and enhance the relationship. Still sleeping together. Deacon Wang was certain. This kind of interaction is the best way to increase the feelings of both of them. Is there anything else besides this? Leng Wuyan was about to lose her temper. Deacon Wang thought for a moment. Sect master is saying that they've already had a date and the relationship has been growing, but they haven't arrived on the stage to sleep together yet. That's what I meant. Leng Wuyan nodded. They should start with holding hands. Deacon Wang replied. Holding hands? Yes. This situation meant they should already have physical contact. Start by holding hands. Then hugs and kisses. This represents different stages of love. Leng Wuyan blushed. She and Lai Ran had eaten the same candy figurine. So was that counted as an indirect kiss? I got it. You go rest. Yes. Sect master, I hope you can break the bottleneck as soon as possible. Deacon Wang withdrew. She walked out of the bedroom and scratched her head in confusion. Recently, she felt that the sect master was getting more and more strange. Is understanding such a problem really for cultivation? Could it be the sect master is investigating relationships in order to pinpoint disciples who are engaged in romantic affairs? This must be it, Deacon Wang concluded. Sigh. It looks like I can't take a peek at Shengzai anymore. She walked down the mountain dejectedly. In her concept, Leng Wuyan's absolutely insular to a relationship, so she didn't even think in that direction at all. In the room, Leng Wuyan took out a notebook and wrote down what Deacon Wang had said seriously. Under dating, listening to music, eating candy figurine, she continually wrote hold hands, hugs, kisses. We should start with holding hands. Right. But what should I do? If I took the initiative, I would seem too unreserved. Under the gleaming candlelight, her pretty face was as red as an apple. Chapter 26. A letter from family. Early in the morning, the moment Deacon Wang approached the kitchen, she heard clamor coming from inside. Her main business was to take care of the sect master's clothes and food. This kitchen was for the sect master's exclusive use. No one could enter without her keys. But unexpectedly there was someone inside. Which daredevil dares to go in and steal food? Deacon Wang opened the door and rushed in angrily. How bold, to actually dare to sneak in the sect master. She was stunned. Leng Wuyan held the spoon in one hand and the lid in the other. Her fair face was stained with black marks. Sect master, What are you doing? Deacon Wang was puzzled. I'm making soup, Lang Wuyan replied. Soup? Deacon Wang glanced at the black liquid in the pot and couldn't help but shiver. Are you sure this thing could be eaten? Lang Wuyan's brows furrowed slightly. Strange. According to my experience in refining pills, there's nothing wrong with the ingredients. Why does it look so ugly? Deacon Wang carefully asked. What kind of soup is it? Lang Wuyan listed a few treasures. The main material is the flesh of the thunder-profound eagle. The auxiliary materials are the blood, essence demon fruit, the 10,000-year green spirit vine, and the snow-bone ginseng. It has the effect of nourishing the meridians, purifying Kai, and transforming the spirit. Deacon Wang did not know whether to laugh or cry. It would be weird if this could be tasty. Sect Master, cooking is different from refining pills. It is not about the effects, but about the aesthetic, fragrance, and taste. For example, you seldom have to eat food, but you still do. Why is that? It's just because of the delicious taste of the food. Lang Wuyan tilted her head and thought for a moment. This makes sense. Deacon Wang took the spoon from her hand. If there's anything you want to eat, just instruct those service disciples. There's no need for you to bother yourself. Lang Wuyan turned her head. You don't understand. This is also a form of cultivation. She actually wanted to personally make the soup for Lai Ran. Shouldn't a good girlfriend be like this? At Sect Master's cultivation. I don't know much about the realm. However, if you're talking about cooking, I definitely know a little more than you. Deacon Wang said with a smile. Yes, Lang Wuyan's eyes lit up. Deacon Wang, come teach me how to make soup. Deacon Wang was a bit shocked. Ah. Lai Ran pushed the door and walked out. The warm sun shining on his body. He stretched his body in a pleasant mood. Today's weather is really good. With the existence of the heaven-seizing cultivation method, he didn't need to meditate to cultivate. Cultivation base naturally increases by itself. This kind of salted fish life was simply too good to bask in the sun, tease Akin, and fall in love with the sect master. Such a wonderful life. Even if an immortal wants to exchange with his cultivation, I would be unwilling. But am I a bit derelict of duty as a villain? To be honest, the Yueyuo temple was completely different from the devil sect he remembered. The disciples here had a harmonious relationship. The elders were amiable, and even the sect master was very cute. The notoriety of a devil sect doesn't seem to exist here. I don't know how Yulu temple became a devil sect. Moreover, one of the top devil sects, Lai Ran, shook his head. Shengzai, a lovely cry came from nearby, and Lu Xinren jumped up and down in front of him. Shengzai, long time no see. Hadn't I seen you yesterday? Ever since he helped her break through last time, this girl had become even more clingy. Now, as long as Lai Ran saw her, he would have a huge headache. I didn't see you for a day. Yet it's like 3 autumns have already passed. Lu Xinren took out a small box and handed it to him. Here, what is this? Lai Ran was puzzled. Lu Xinren smiled and said, this is the pastry I made for you in the morning. I purposely got up 4 hours early today. It's absolutely delicious. You know how to cook? Lai Ran accepted the box suspiciously, and a familiar smell assaulted his nostrils. This would not be. Little Lu made an osmanthus cake. Shengzai, try it. Another osmanthus cake. Lai Ran's face turned green. Last night's osmanthus cake almost made him vomit. At first, he wanted to leave directly, but when he saw her bloodshot eyes, he hesitated for a moment before taking a piece and stuffing it into his mouth. Unexpectedly, the taste was quite good. How is it? Lu Xinren looked at him eagerly. Not bad. Lai Ran nodded. Yes. Lu Xinren excitedly jumped up. As long as Shengzai likes it, I can make it for you every day. Forget it. Thank you. I can also make plum cake. Lu Xinren hung around him for a while before being called back to cultivate. Lai Ran finally let out a sigh of relief. At this moment, an inner sect disciple walked over, holding an envelope in his hand. Shengzai, here is a letter to you. Letter? Who would have written to me? Lai Ran was a little curious. I also don't know. I only know that it was sent from Wying City. Lai Ran immediately understood. That should be a letter from my family. He tore open the envelope and took out a piece of jade. Although it was a letter, it was not in the form of paper. Instead, the letter was made up of jade that was as thin as a cicada's wing and used as a carrier to input the information into it. The jade letter could only be read in a specific way. Otherwise, it would be destroyed. It could be considered an encrypted letter. Ran activated his spiritual power and injected his spiritual power into the letter. A familiar voice rang out in his ears. It was his second uncle. First, he inquired about Ran about well-being, but what he said after that made Ran stunned. Fiancé. Chapter 27 Marriage Annulment. His second uncle mentioned in the letter that he actually had a fiancé surnamed Zio. Why do I not know about this? He was dumbfounded. After carefully listening to the contents of the letter, he finally understood. The marriage contract was decided by the two families' elders. At that time, Ran was still young and no one told him about it. In the end, when he was 8 years old, he had been chosen by the Yuo temple and entered this top-tier sect. After that he became a renowned genius. The gap between the Lai family and the Zhou family also grew larger. Coupled with the fact that the Yuo temple prohibits marriage, there was no longer any mention of this marriage. This was the first time Ran even heard of it. His second uncle mentioned this in the letter. Following the passing of the ancestor of the Zhou clan, the entire Zhou clan was shaken by the storm and had been reduced to a second-rate clan. Zhou family's young miss had lost all her talent overnight. She was now an ordinary person. Their family suddenly mentioned the engagement. They wanted to hug our Lai family's thighs and survive this calamity. The two families now were no longer in the same standing, so this engagement should be annulled. However, it was an agreement between the elders of the previous generation, so we couldn't deal with this matter too curtly. Rainer, you should go to the Zhou family to personally annul the marriage. With the existence of the Yulu temple's prohibition, the Zhou family wouldn't be able to say anything about it. Ran was speechless. Zhou family lost talent. Marriage annulment. What the FCK is this? But why did it seem that he had heard of this before somewhere? Thinking back carefully, he could indeed remember there was a little girl who he used to play with when they were small. However, since he entered the Yulu temple, Ran had rarely returned home after so many years and they had never seen each other again. Sect master shouldn't know about this. With her jealous personality, Ran shivered. Although this marriage annulment was the definition of hitting someone when they are down, it was the best solution. I need to find a chance to go down the mountain and annul this engagement. He made a decision. Before this matter could spread, it would be best to have it settled. It was almost noon when the deacon found him. Shanghai. The sect master is summoning you to the demon peak. Ran's brows twitched. Master summoned me. Did master already know? Shanghai. When the deacon saw that he did not react, she called him again. Ran returned to his senses. All right, I got it. He put away the letter and gave it to Akin for safekeeping. He then headed to Demon Peak. Leng Wuyan paced through the palace with a nervous and expectant expression. Hearing the door being knocked, she hurriedly sat back in her chair and picked up a book. Ran pushed the door open and walked in front of her. I'm sorry I'm late. I made master wait for a long time. He cupped his hands. Flying was forbidden within the main peak, so he could only walk. Leng Wuyan casually said, Long time I've been reading a book and didn't notice. As she spoke, she turned a page. Master Ran wanted to interject. What if you have something to say? Say it. Your book is upside down. Cough cough. Leng Wuyan was a little embarrassed as she said stiffly. I like to read books upside down. Can't I do that? As expected of my master. I admire you. Ran couldn't help but laugh. Alright, there's no one else here. Don't be so serious. Leng Wuyan said. Ran scratched his head. Does that mean I'm unserious in private? What do you think since you were serious? Why did you dare confess to me before? Leng Wuyan said in an indescribable tone. Ran's face turned red as he giggled awkwardly. Leng Wuyan rolled her eyes at him. Silly. Come with me. The two passed through the hall and arrived at the dining hall. Ran couldn't he help but be stunned when he saw a large table of rich delicacies. Master, this is. Since I have nothing to do, I cooked. However, I accidentally cooked too much. So I called you to help me clean it up in order to not waste the food. Lyran looked at the dishes on the table. Each dish was full of color and fragrance, and not a single mouthful was taken. How could she have accidentally cooked too much? It was clearly a feast prepared with her heart. Wait, what did you say just now? Lyran asked in shock. Did you cook these dishes yourself? In his memory, Leng Wuyan was a master who never touched the pan and couldn't even recognize normal ingredients. Of course. She crossed her arms and spoke proudly. Lyran sat down, picked up the silver chopsticks and placed a piece of snow eagle meat into his mouth. Woo! His eyes lit up. Leng Wuyan asked in anticipation. How does it taste? Lyran gave a thumbs up and said vaguely. It's delicious, master. Your craftsmanship is too great. This was not flattery. The taste of the dishes were indeed great. Although the dishes were not on the level of peak chefs, it was definitely at a high level. That's good. Leng Wuyan let out a sigh of relief. It's not in vain for me to get up early this morning to learn how to cook. With her innate talent and comprehension skill, no matter what kind of dish it was, she would be able to perfectly replicate it after reading the cookbook. In fact, she even managed to create many novel dishes. But even so, this large table of dishes took her 4 to 5 hours. Lyran looked at her fair face and felt a slight stir in his heart. Master, you are really kind to me. Leng Wuyan's face turned red as she turned her head and said, I'm just using you to practice. It's not like I specifically made it for you. Why are you so cushy? Even so, the sweetness in her eyes couldn't be turned away. Lyran had long since gotten used to her arrogant personality. He pulled her to his side and made her sit down. Master, let's eat together. Leng Wuyan felt his warm palm, and her heart began to beat faster. She let him pull her like a puppet and sat down dizzily. Chapter 28 Leng Wuyan's Dilemma. Leng Wuyan sat on his side, her right hand tightly held by Lyran, feeling the heat akin to a scorching furnace flame surging through their hands. Blood gradually rushed onto her cheeks. This was their first real skin contact. Master, you should also eat. Lyran continued eating the meal with one hand. Leng Wuyan stammered. You're still holding me. Only then did Lyran react and quickly let her go. This disciple is reckless. It's fine. Leng Wuyan turned her head and felt her heart flutter. Looking at the embarrassed Lyran, a wave of unprecedented courage suddenly surged inside her. She took the initiative to put her delicate hand back into his palm and whispered, I can eat with my left hand. Master Lyran stared at her in a daze. Leng Wuyan was a little shy and angrily reprimanded. Why are you staring at me? Hurry up and eat. This disciple will obey. Lyran saluted with his left hand. The two of them looked at each other and smiled brightly. While eating, Leng Wuyan said, Rainer, I'm very curious about something. Master, go ahead. You'd rather die that day than to not confess to me. Just what do you like about me? Leng Wuyan said. She was a little embarrassed, and nervously looked at Lyran. In Leng Wuyan's heart, she was cold and aloof. Her personality was old-fashioned, and she carried the name of a demoness. Logically speaking, no one in this world would like her. Lyran put down his chopsticks and thought for a while before saying firmly, Face. Leng Wuyan was stunned. That's right, Lyran said as a matter of fact. Master's face is very pretty. Your face is rosy. Your lips are like jade. And your eyes seem to be filled with boundless stars. I've never seen anyone so beautiful before. Leng Wuyan was a little shy by his honeyed words, but she couldn't help but ask, other than that, in addition to your beautiful face, your figure is also perfect from top to bottom. The part that should be bountiful is bountiful. The part that should be thin is thin. It's not an understatement to say that you're perfect. Is it just appearance? She had imagined countless answers, but she had never imagined that Lyran's reply would be so superficial. For a moment, she didn't know whether to be happy or sad. Under the beautiful face lies a skull. Under the perfect skin and figure lies a pile of white bones. Even an emperor-level expert would not be able to live forever. This superficial appearance would eventually fade under the passage of time. At that time, would you still like me? Ling Wuyan pondered for a moment and decided to voice out her dilemma to Lai Ran. Of course. Lai Ran did not hesitate. People are visual animals. The reason Master attracted me was naturally because of your appearance. But if you were to ask what I liked most about Master, what do you like most about me? Ling Wuyan asked. I like Master's seriousness when Master is conducting lessons. I like Master's serenity when Master is listening to music. I like Master's loveliness when Master is eating candy. And I like Master's cuteness when Master acts tough. In my eyes, Master, you are both reliable and gentle. You are valiant and adorable. You are simply a perfect existence. Lai Ran spoke without end. Although the confession that time was an accident, these words were his true feelings. Do I have that many advantages? Lovely Ling Wuyan's face turned more rosy the more she listened. In the end, she almost buried herself under the table. Her heart was truly jubilant. I know. Lai Ran raised his hand and smiled. One more thing. Master's hand is really soft. Nonsense. Ling Wuyan was so shy that her ears were about to release smoke. I have one last question. Since we've confirmed our relationship, why do you still call me Master? She whispered. This had been bothering her for a long time. They were already lovers, but him using honorifics with her would give her a feeling of estrangement from him. Lai Ran scratched his head. I've been calling you that for 10 years, and I can't change it at a moment's notice. And don't you think that this kind of address is even more exciting for our relationship? Ling Wuyan almost vomited blood. Exciting? Your sister. She wanted to pry open Lai Ran's brain and see what was inside. The dining hall once again fell silent. She was absent-mindedly holding the plates when Lai Ran suddenly broke the ice. Yaner? Ling Wuyan almost dropped her chopsticks as if she had been electrocuted. No one ever called her that before. Lai Ran shrugged. I have already changed my address to you. It's your turn now. Ling Wuyan calmed down and said curiously. Didn't I call you Rainer? That's a good name. That's not right. I want you to change it to Lai Ran whispered into her ear. Ling Wuyan was so ashamed that she almost lifted the table. Roman too can't call you that. She shook her head like a rattledrum. All right. Lai Ran sighed. His expression was somewhat regretful. Ling Wuyan could not bear to see this. When she was just about to say something, her expression suddenly turned solemn. Someone's coming. Who's here? Lai Ran was stunned. Chapter 29 Trial. Leave it to me. When Sun Wai walked in, she couldn't help but be stunned when she saw the table full of rich food. I've come to see the sect master. Apologies for disturbing your meal. It's fine. Sun Wai turned her gaze to Ling Wuyan's side. Ah, Shengzai is also here. Greetings, elder Sun. Lai Ran replied with a nod. Although Sun Wai was the first elder, Lai Ran was also the sect Shengzai. His was not a position other disciples could match up to. So, he didn't need to get up and bow to her. Elder Sun had a strange feeling. Lai Ran had been always present when she had come to see the sect master the last 2 times. In the past, she had never seen them interact so often. Right now, Shengzai should be cultivating. What are you doing here? Sun Wai asked. Before Lai Ran could reply, Ling Wuyan took the lead and said, Rainer has been extremely diligent recently and has advanced in cultivation quite quickly. I'm worried that he might overdo it, so I called him over to rest. Lai Ran could not hold back his laughter. Diligence? She must be talking about our relationship. With the existence of the heaven-seizing cultivation method, I can just sleep every day. However, it was true that he had advanced quite quickly. Ling Wuyan shot him a glance displaying a caring smile on her face. Oh, Sun Wai looked over and cried out in disbelief. Shengzai is already at the last stage of the Golden Core realm. Last time, he was still at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. He had broken through in just a day or two. This cultivation speed was too shocking. Lai Ran's expression remained calm. It might be a coincidence. Before that, he already reached the pinnacle of the middle stage Golden Core realm. With his formidable talent and heaven-seizing cultivation method, breaking through to the late stage of the Golden Core realm was as simple as drinking water. You entered the golden core realm at the age of 17, but it just took you a year to reach the late stage. This talent is truly terrifying. Sun Y finally understood why Lang Wuyin was so close to Lai Ran. With such a powerful talent, as long as he doesn't fall victim to an early death, he would definitely be a master in the future. It's all thanks to Sect Master. As Lai Ran spoke, he secretly pinched Lang Wuyin's hand under the table. Lang Wuyin bit her lip and tried to maintain her calm. This kid is too presumptuous. She wanted to break free, but she couldn't use any strength because of a kind of limp and numb feeling. Thinking that Elder Sun wouldn't be able to see it anyway, she just let it be. Elder Sun, why did you come to see me? She asked aloud. It's that. Sun Y replied. The sect's trials are about to begin. We don't know who will lead the disciples this time. The elders in each peak all care about this matter tightly. Sect trials. It was an important part of the cultivation of disciples in Yueyuo Temple. Every 3 years, the elders would arrange for the new disciples to go down Mount Xuanling and enter the Grand Myriad Mountains to explore and complete the missions assigned by the sect. Every time, they would arrange for a senior disciple to lead the team. Although they acted a bit like a nanny, it's the best way to discover a seedling with a good personality and aptitude, making it convenient for them to recruit these excellent seedlings. Therefore, the elders of the various peaks all watched this matter closely. Lang Wuyin waved her hand. Elder Sun, you decide. Obviously, she was not interested in this matter. All right, then, Lai Ran suddenly said. I'll do it. You both of them looked at him in surprise. You're the Shengzai, so you should focus on cultivation. You shouldn't worry about this. Sun Y euphemistically refused him. Lai Ran shook his head. I've been cultivating a little too much lately, so I'll take this opportunity to rest. But Sun Y hesitated. Besides, I had never participated in a trial in the past 10 years. As the Shengzai, I have to do something for the sect. Right, Lai Ran said. As he spoke, Elder Sun was helpless. Then let's just rely on the sect master's arrangements. Lang Wuyin gave him a serious look. Are you sure you want to lead the trial? Lai Ran nodded. This disciple is sure. In fact, it wasn't because he wanted to take part in the trial, but to take the chance to sneak off to annul his engagement. All right, I will accept that. When Elder Sun left, Lang Wuyin put down her chopsticks and remained silent. Lai Ran gulped and said carefully, Master. Lang Wuyin ignored him. Yaner? Little cutie. Lang Wuyin couldn't hold back any longer, and she said in embarrassment and a resentful tone. You're so shameless. I wonder if there is anything you wouldn't speak of with that brazen face of yours. It's because you're too cute. I can't help it. Lai Ran continued his shamelessness. Stop, be honest. Why did you suddenly want to lead the team down the mountain? You've never been so diligent before. Lang Wuyin. Lai Ran's eyes turned. I miss home. Miss home. This disciple had cultivated for more than 10 years here, and the number of times I had returned home was numbered. I want to take this opportunity to return, master. You won't blame me, right? Of course not. Lang Wuyin was a little embarrassed. I'm sorry. I misunderstood you just now. I thought you wanted to. I want to what? Lai Ran asked curiously. You want to hide from me? Her voice grew smaller and smaller. Lai Ran laughed dumbly. His master was truly adorable. However, the more this happened, the stronger his guilt felt. Lang Wuyin believed him unconditionally, but he lied repeatedly. But I can't really tell her about this matter. Lai Ran was extremely helpless. Chapter 30. My master is truly sweet. The trial will proceed for over a month. Plus, if you go home, won't I be away from Rainer for a long time? Lang Wuyin felt disappointed. Originally, with her cultivation, a close-door cultivation session would take decades. This little period of time was just a flick of her finger. But now, she felt that 1 month was extremely long and arduous. Lai Ran pinched her hand and said, I will definitely return as soon as possible. I'm still looking forward to my second date with Master. HMPH, you cheeky brat. Who wants to go on a date with you? Joy flashed across Lang Wuyin's eyes as she spoke. The gloom in her heart dissipated quite a bit. Sigh. The thought of not being able to see Master for such a long time made this disciple's heart ache. Maybe I shouldn't go, Lai Ran sighed. All right, there was no time for cultivation. It's just a short period of time for you and me. The days ahead are still long. Lang Huiyan comforted him instead. A trace of craftiness flashed through Lai Ran's eyes as he turned his back to her and said, "Then before I leave, can you satisfy this disciple's small wish?" Lang Huiyan asked, curiously. "Wish, tell me." Lai Ran cleared his throat. "The name I just mentioned to you. I really want to hear you say it." Lang Huiyan was immediately at a loss for what to do. She said with a panicked expression, "No, I can't call you that." All right. Lai Ran was filled with regret. Lang Huiyan looked at him and hesitated for a long time before she said in a low voice, "If I call you that, can you come back earlier?" Of course. Lai Ran's eyes lit up. "I promise to finish up quickly." All right. Lang Huiyan covered her face and her voice was like a mosquito. Husband. Through her fingers, he could see her scarlet cheek. Before Lai Ran could respond, her figure instantly disappeared. She was so bashful that she immediately fled. Lai Ran sat in his chair in a daze. He hadn't recovered for a long time. He clutched his wildly beating heart and muttered, "My master is truly sweet." Wyang City. This was the imperial capital of the dynasty, the most prosperous city. At this moment, everyone gathered in front of the Tao-seeking platform's pathways, taking a glimpse at various immortals. Immortal Ascension Conference. This was the day that the mortal world was closest to the cultivation world. All the great clans would send out their most outstanding disciples to test their talent on the Tao-seeking platform in order to obtain a chance to enter the sects. As for the various sects, they would continue to pay attention to them to avoid missing seedlings with good aptitude. Back then, the 8-year-old Lai Ran talent was measured to be of the saint grade, triggering the competition among the top sects. In the end, he was brought under the doors of Yulu Temple. At this moment, the deacon who presided over the meeting said, "Now, the Zhou family's disciples will get on the stage to be examined." A group of young men and women walked up. The youngest of them was only 6 or 7 years old. In the order listed, they touched the stone. Xiao Feng, inferior talent. Xiao Yun, inferior talent. Xiao San, mid-grade talent. Up to the last person, the best was just a mid-grade talent. It could be said that it was extremely miserable. The girl at the end of the line took a deep breath and placed her right hand on the stone. After a while, there was no reaction. The deacon said loudly, "Zhao Qingzhi, no cultivation talent." She withdrew her hand and lowered her eyes. As expected, no miracle has happened. My talent has really disappeared. It was not her first time participating in the Immortal Ascension Conference. When she was young, it was discovered that she had a supergrade talent. Although it was a bit inferior to Lai Ran, it was still a once-in-100 years talent. On the spot, she was accepted by the Supreme Tao Palace as a direct disciple at the age of 10. She reached foundation establishment at the age of 15. At the age of 18, she had already reached the Golden Core realm. Her cultivation speed was so fast that she was only beneath Lai Ran, who was known as the reincarnation of an immortal emperor. In addition to being renowned in the city, she was also known as Fairy King throughout the whole world and had various followers. If nothing unexpected happened, she would become an expert and lead the Zhou family to prosperity. However, all of this had changed. Not long ago, half a month ago, her cultivation suddenly disappeared, and 10 years of painstaking cultivation turned to nothing. Even her original supergrade talent had become the worst no talent. The sects and clans tried everything they could to find a solution. In the end, it could only be attributed to the heavens' will. She didn't even have the qualifications to be a servant in the sect. After confirming that she could not recover, she was expelled by the Supreme Tao Palace. How high she flew back then, and how miserable she felt now. Everyone looked at the stage, discussing spiritedly. FCK. I didn't expect Zhou Qingzhi's talent to really disappear. That's right. I thought it was a rumor. But this time, it hit like a stone hammer. My God. After consuming so many resources, she turned into a cripple. This time, the Xiao family has lost a lot. I heard that she had been expelled from the Supreme Tao Palace. Not only that, even the Lai family is clamoring for an engagement annulment. The Xiao family and the Lai family have an engagement. Why haven't I heard of this? It's a long story. It was. Xiao Qingsh walked down the Dao-seeking platform and quietly passed through the crowd, turning a deaf ear to all the commotion. Chapter 31 Lai Ran's Shadow. This was an annual gathering, where all the great clans of Wying City gathered. Xiao Qingsh was once again an influential figure. For a moment, all eyes turned to her. There were sighs, banter, greed, and coveting gazes. Once upon a time, she was a fairy of exceptional beauty and hope. Now that this immortal fortune had been completely lost and fallen into the mortal world, it naturally attracted many people's attention. Xiao Qingsh, I did not expect that you would really come. A young man with a vain expression stood in front of her with a playful smile on his face. It was Lai Sheng, Lai Ran's cousin, a superior grade talent, and an inner sect disciple. Although the Supreme Tao Palace had already released the news, your Xiao family had never come forward to admit it. Now that you've come to the Immortal Ascension Conference, aren't you announcing to the world that you, Xiao Qingsh, are crippled? Lai Sheng emphasized the word cripple, making sure that everyone could hear it. Xiao Qingsh was expressionless as she turned to leave. Are you mad, still acting cold? I thought that you were the fairy king. A trace of displeasure flashed through Lai Sheng's eyes as he reached out and grabbed her arm. Xiao Qingsh frowned. Pain. This grip almost crushed her bones. The strength of a mid-foundation establishment cultivator wasn't something a mere mortal could bear. On the other hand, the disciples of the Xiao family turned a blind eye to this. They all looked elsewhere as if they did not know her. Her family was in this state. They were totally cold towards her. Anyone could see it. Lai Sheng couldn't help but feel even more proud. Losing cultivation and being expelled by the sect, not to mention, your Xiao family actually wants to marry into my Lai family. You don't even have an old ancestor to watch over your family. Yet you wanted to marry into my Lai family. What a joke. As far as I know, the matter of marriage annulment has come to an end. You better think about what other uses you have left. Xiao Qingsh said coldly. Let go. Ayo. I'm so scared. Lai Sheng sized her up and smiled wickedly. Look at how pretty you are. Why don't you be my human cauldron? Ill keep you safe. TLN again. A euphemism for sex slave. Do you think you deserve me? What did you say? Lai Sheng suspected that he had misheard. Xiao Qingsh raised her head and coldly stared at him. As long as the engagement isn't annulled, I am Lai Ran's fiancé. Have you considered the consequences? Lai Ran. When Lai Sheng heard this name, his body couldn't help but tremble. A trace of fear flashed across his eyes. You, who are you scaring? Let go. Lai Sheng looked at her with calm eyes, and he suddenly felt a little shocked. He involuntarily released his grip on her. That's right. I lost my cultivation and became a mortal. That's right then. She turned around and left. Lai Sheng panted heavily, his face turning red and white, veins popping out on his forehead. These words deeply pierced into his weakness. Under Lai Ran's shadow, he would never be able to lift his head. Xiao Qingsh, when the Lai family annuls the engagement, I will definitely make you pay the price. His eyes were filled with ferocity. Xiao Qingsh returned home and locked herself in her room. Her entire body seemed to have been emptied out in an instant. She sat on the chair feebly, her eyes filled with confusion. No matter how strong she was only a teenage girl. The sudden fall from the clouds to hell wasn't something she could bear. Thump, thump, thump. Someone was knocking at the door. She restrained her expression and stood up to open the door. Outside the door stood a burly man. It was the head of the Xiao family, her biological father, Xiao Nian. Qingsh, father. Xiao Qingsh lowered her head, not daring to look at him. Xiao Nian sighed helplessly. Go on and tell me. Xiao Nian set up a soundproof formation and then said aloud. Qingsh, you shouldn't have gone to the Immortal Ascension Conference. This will only make things worse. Xiao Qingsh shook her head and said, the Supreme Tao Palace has already released this news. This matter cannot be hidden and I want to try again. I understand. Xiao Nian sighed and said, ever since the death of the old ancestor, the Xiao family is like a candle in the wind. There are tigers and wolves in Wying City. I'm only worried that I can't protect you. This daughter's incompetence has made father worry. Xiao Qingge whispered, if we can get the support of the Lai family, everything will turn around. Unfortunately, Xiao Nian shook his head. With Xiao family's current state, it was almost certain that the marriage would be annulled. Qingge, is it really impossible for you and Lai Ran? Xiao Nian could not help but ask. Lai Ran Xiao Qingge's eyes were confused. The appearance of a young boy flashed through her mind. Playmates from childhood. Agreements under the tree. Parents' orders. Words of matchmaker. She had been willing. It's impossible. Xiao Qingge bit her lip. Lai Ran is the Shengzai of Yueyuo Temple. The sect prohibits marriage. Even if he doesn't annul the marriage still could not proceed. Sigh. Xiao Nian's heart was filled with helplessness. Lai Ran was the only solution that could turn around their situation. Only if he stepped forward could Xiao Qingge be completely protected. With Xiao Qingge's personality, she would rather swallow a broken tooth. How could she be willing to go beg him at this time? TLN swallow a broken tooth to retract one's statement. Zem NH1 if you find any errors. Ads pop up. Ads redirect. Broken links. Non-standard content. Etc. Please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 32 Leng Wuyan's Letter. Chapter 32 Leng Wuyan's Letter. Yulu Temple. Main Peak. A group of young disciples was gathered at this place. Most of them were new disciples who had just entered the sect, and some of them were those who had missed the previous trial. They were both nervous and excited about the upcoming trial. I've heard that the Grand Myriad mountain range is extremely terrifying, and the mountain is occupied by countless fiendish demons. It's a forbidden area for humans. Aren't those little rookies going to the demon's plate? The sect won't let us die. The trial's just outside the 100,000 mountains. It's not that dangerous. Also, senior brother is here. What are you all panicking about? I wonder which senior brother will be leading us this time. I hope he's a handsome man. He'll be in a good mood for this kind of trial. Handsome addict. Hearing the disciples' discussions, Lu Xinren sighed and frowned. She was also on the trial team. She, who had the cultivation at the early foundation establishment realm, was teamed up with these Kai refining practitioners. Her status had changed from the inner sect junior sister to the senior sister. However, she was not happy at all. The thought of not being able to see Shengzai for a long time caused her heartache. Sigh. I'm still planning on making plum cake for Shengzai. Looks like I'll have to wait until I return. In her heart, cultivation was only ranked second. Suddenly, the clamorous discussion stopped. What happened? Lu Xinren raised her head blankly and saw a white-robed figure floating down. Her mouth opened slightly. Her eyes filled with disbelief. Shengzai. Lai Ran landed in the middle of the arena. He excluded a handsome and heroic aura. He looked around and indifferently said, I am the leader of this team. My mission is to ensure the safety of your lives. As for whether you lose arms or have broken legs, that has nothing to do with me. Therefore, my only request to everyone is to stay alive. We have to gather at the teleportation portal in an hour. Those who arrive late will be sentenced to death. Lai Ran's words were brief and concise. After he finished speaking, he flew into the air. The young disciples were quiet for a moment before they went into turmoil. Which senior brother is this? He's too handsome. Especially that cold demeanor. He's simply too cool. I love him. The female disciples looked at his departing figure with starry eyes. Most of them were outer sect disciples. Normally, they wouldn't be able to converse with Lai Ran, so they naturally couldn't recognize him. You all don't know who he is. He is the sect's Shengzai. Lai Ran, a disciple, spoke out. Shengzai. Is he the Shengzai? Lai Ran. Oh my god, everyone looked at each other. He was a legendary figure. This is just a small trial. Yet the trial is led by Shengzai himself. Isn't this too exaggerated? Lu Xinren was so excited that she almost jumped up. I didn't expect that I would be able to participate in the trial with Shengzai. My luck is too good. Lai Ran returned to his residence. Akin knew of the trial and helped him pack his bags. Due to her not being a disciple of Yuyuo Temple, she couldn't accompany him during this trial. Lord Shengzai, this is your replacement clothes during the trial. If you get dirty, you can change into them. These are food for your trip. They are your favorite dishes. And they won't rot in your storage ring. Lai Ran didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Alright. It's not like him going to war. It's just an ordinary trial. He'll be back soon. Yes. Akin will work hard to cultivate and wait for Sheng Zi's return. She said seriously. Be good. Lai Ran rubbed her little head. Akin narrowed her eyes. Her expression showed that she was enjoying his touch. Akin is already at the mid-stage of Kai refining. According to the mysterious Light Sutra, as long as Akin reaches the foundation, establishment realm, Akin would be able to cultivate with Lord Shengzai Wu. Lai Ran covered her mouth. Apart from cultivating with me, can you pursue something else? Akin's eyes were black and white as she blinked innocently. Forget it. You can continue cheering. Wu. After dealing with Akin, Lai Ran walked out of the room. He looked at the towering demon peak. Ever since the last time Leng Wuyan had fled from embarrassment, she had never shown her face again. He had been told that the sect master was not present at her bedchamber. Could it be that master is angry with me? She shouldn't be. The last time we met was fine. Lai Ran pinched his chin. Inwardly, he felt a little hopeless. At this moment, a female disciple quickly walked up to him. Sheng Zai. Deacon Wang, are you looking for me? Lai Ran asked. Deacon Wang nodded and reached out to hand over a letter. This is what sect master told me to give you before you leave. Letter. Lai Ran was stunned for a moment before asking. Other than this, did the sect master say anything else? Deacon Wang shook her head. No. Alright. When Deacon Wang had left, Lai Ran poured his kai into the letter. Leng Wuyan's cold voice rang in his ears. Rainer, I'm going to the southern border. I have something important to deal with. So I can't personally send you off. Be safe and come back early. I will give you a pleasant surprise upon your return. Once you go outside, you should protect yourself. You are not allowed to touch flowers and stir weeds. Or I would ignore you. Remember to think about me every day. The more she spoke, the smaller her voice became. In the end, he almost couldn't hear her voice. Lai Ran could even imagine how shy she was when she recorded this letter. Who could withstand this? Even I. The recipient. Am getting diabetes from it. Chapter 33. The trial begins. Grand Myriad Mountain Range. The area was located in the extreme south of the vast land, filled with countless mountains and treacherous waters occupied by demons and evil spirits. The deeper one went, the more terrifying the creatures living there became. It was a location listed as a forbidding area for humans. Even an immoral elder with profound cultivation wouldn't dare to enter the deeper regions, only tread around the outer reaches himself. Attack. Yuyuo Heart Art Shadow Killing Formation. Be careful from behind. Form a formation. Quickly form a formation. The group from Yuyuo Temple had just entered the Grand Myriad Mountain Range when they were attacked by demonic beasts. It was a massive, colorful, sharp-toothed tiger. Its body was as tall as a bull. A pair of enormous fangs bared out of its gaping mouth. Its tail waving behind it like a menacing steel whip. The sharp-toothed tiger's strength was equivalent to a cultivator at the middle to late Kai refining realm. Unlike normal tigers, they aren't solitary but like to work together in packs. This behavior caused a great deal of trouble for the Yuyuo Temple disciples. In the beginning, they managed to work together to kill a few tigers, but soon enough the pack managed to scatter them. Under the constant frenzied attacks by the demon beasts, they barely endured. Lai Ran laid on his flying sword and lazily yawned. He was there to lead the trial, not to work as a nanny. He wouldn't bother to interfere unless someone was about to die. Observing the battlefield, a petite figure attracted his attention. Lu Xinren was gliding through the beasts as fast as a ghost. The sharp-toothed tiger's slow movement was utterly unable to harm her at all. Instead, she inflicted terrifying wounds on their bodies while passing them. In just 3 breaths of time, she easily finished one of the beasts off. Good. You've grown a lot more than before. Lai Ran nodded. Even though Lu Xinren's battle talent proved to be formidable, this advantage didn't hold for long. The demonic tigers quickly noticed this troublesome adversary and made her their main focus. The 5 remaining beasts roared madly, their ferocity covering the heavens. She immediately felt threatened. Transforming her shadow into a shield, she managed to block 4 of the creature's attacks, but the last managed to break through her defenses. Roar! The beast's red eyes filled with greed as it opened its bloody mouth and rushed at her. Its foul-smelling saliva almost dripped onto her body. It's over. Lu Xinren was terrified. It was already too late to use any techniques. Just as the tiger was about to bite down on her, a flower appeared in front of her, revealing a tall figure standing between her and the beast. That's enough. Come here. Following the indifferent voice, the tiger instantly exploded into a rain of blood. Lai Ran's entire body was covered in silver light. Like a meteor that appeared in the morning sky, he swept into the group of demon beasts. Accompanied by an ear-piercing howl, all the demonic tigers were torn apart by silver light in a few short breaths. A red shimmer spread out and blood and gore flew everywhere. The tragic scene appeared similar to a painting of hell itself. Hovering above the carnage, Lai Ran's white robes and black hair fluttered in the soft breeze. There was not even a trace of blood anywhere on his body. Upon the sudden change, many of the disciples stared blankly, unable to return to their senses for a long time. Seeing that quite a few disciples had already lost their lives, Lai Ran said indifferently, "Everyone, check your injuries, treat them, and well, leave in an hour." Afterward, he leaped back onto the flying sword and lazily basked in the sun. Lu Xinren was the first to react. She looked at him gratefully before organizing the disciples to regroup. "One thing to say is that he is truly handsome. Did you see him clearly in that instant?" All the demonic tigers died. Too powerful. Shang's eye isn't as cold as the rumors say. The disciples looked up to Lai Ran and discussed in a low voice. A male disciple covered his bleeding arm and snorted. In order to be handsome, he waited until the last moment to attack. If he got rid of the demon beasts earlier, we wouldn't have suffered like this. Clearly, he was dissatisfied. Lu Xinren gave him a cold look. "Do you think you're here to travel? This is a real battle. In a real battle, casualties are unavoidable. If Shengzai clears all obstacles, what is the point of this trial?" But the male disciples still wanted to quibble. "Shengzai saved our lives, so we should be grateful. If I hear this again, it'll make you leave the trial." Lu Xinren's attitude was unyielding to the extreme. The others also cast unfriendly gazes. The male disciple shook his head and did not dare to speak again, waiting for the disciples to wrap up their wounds and gather the demon bones needed for the mission. The team continued to set off. Lai Ran followed behind unhurriedly. Shengzai. Lu Xinren approached him, holding a red fruit in her tender hand. "This is the cloud spirit fruit. Eat it to quench your thirst." "I'm not thirsty." Lai Ran did not raise his eyelids. "All right," Lu Xinren said seriously. "Thank you for saving me. Otherwise, I would've really died there." Lai Ran said indifferently. "No need. This is the responsibility of the leader." "Ha ha. Actually, I know that although Shengzai looks cold, Shengz is actually a very warm person," Lu Xinren said with a red face. Lai Ran was stunned. "You only attacked at the end to allow us to increase our actual combat experience." "Right, I'm sure of it." Lu Xinren clenched her pink fist and said firmly, "We will definitely support you. We will live up to your expectations." Lai Ran was momentarily speechless. "Who has expectations from you? Did this chick misunderstand something?" Chapter 34. A proud genius and a poor girl. Lai Ran was a very lazy person. His motto in life was be lenient to yourself and be strict with others. Not only did he not have any expectations from these rookies, he even felt that they were troublesome. As a result, he made them fight. The entire time, he was not even bothered to take action until they were pushed to a dead end. However, in the eyes of the new disciples, this irresponsible attitude had turned into the assumption that he was making them do the painstaking effort to refine their combat experience. On the 7th day of the trial, because of Lai Ran's cultivation, There were more and more disciples hanging on the thread. Everyone was more or else injured. Nonetheless, they made great progress. Their eyes became firm, their combat ability had improved qualitatively, and their teamwork became more and more tacit. There were even 3 people who had directly broken through to the late stage of Kai refining realm. All of this was credited to Lai Ran. Kill the last demon beast fell into a pool of blood. The surrounding demon beasts were not very strong. They were basically at the Kai refining realm. As long as the scale of the beast group was too large, the disciples of Yueyuo Temple would be able to handle beasts on their own. Shangzai. The sky is about to darken. Why don't we set up camp at the water source and rest for the night? Lu Xinren ran over and Lai Ran stretched out his waist. That's fine. Then, let's rest. Yes. The disciples quickly set up camp by the lake. Everyone lit a bonfire and gathered together to eat roast meat. Only Lai Ran sat alone on the treetops, his back looking extremely distant. Shangzai, you're so cold. You've never eaten with us, a female disciple said. Lu Xinren shook his head. You guys don't understand. Under the cold and aloof appearance of Shangzai lies a warm heart. He's just not good at communicating with people. Think back to the beginning. She explained what Lai Ran did to help her break through. Wow, Shangzai is so warm. That's right. Even though he looks like he dislikes us, he's helping us all the time. It turns out that his disdainful eyes are filled with love. This is how geniuses are. They are not good at communicating with others. Thinking about it like this, Shangzai is so cute. After everyone's brain tinkered, Lai Ran turned from a cold and distant genius to a warm-hearted genius. At this moment, he was sitting on the top of the tree, happily eating the snow-fluffy pellets. This was a delicacy carefully prepared by Akin. It was much more delicious than the roast meat that did not even have any seasoning. Shangzai, come down and eat with us. You can't starve yourself to death, the female disciples cried out in pain. Lai Ran refused without hesitation. Want to eat my little pellets? No chance. Whoosh! Xiao Qingge panted heavily as she staggered through the dense forest. Blood oozed from the corner of her mouth, and her body was covered in wounds. Her clothes had long since been torn apart by the branches. This was the 5th day she had entered the Grand Myriad mountain range. Along the way, she followed the map and tried her best to avoid the places where the demon beasts were. Even so, she still got in danger. There were many times she had crossed the death's door. If it wasn't for her astonishing willpower, she would've been buried long ago. Because I don't have a cultivation base, I can't use my storage ring. I have already eaten all the dry rations. But I am still dozens of kilometers away from the secret realm. Xiao Qingge's face was pale. A few days ago, she unexpectedly learned that there was a secret realm opening in the depths of the 100,000 mountains. Rumors had it that the ancient immortal emperor's inheritance resided there. Her intuition told her that this was her only chance to turn her fate around. Therefore, she did not hesitate to disobey her father's orders, secretly stole the map, and entered the 100,000 mountains, all for the sake of finding that wisp of illusory immortal destiny. However, before she could even see the shadow of the secret realm, she was on the verge of dying. If I can't obtain this strand of immortal destiny, all that's waiting for me is a nightmare. I definitely can't give up. Even if I die, I will still die on the immortal path. Xiao Qingge's eyes gradually became firm. Just as she was about to move, the ground suddenly trembled violently. The trees from afar collapsed. Her expression changed. Not good. It's coming in my direction. Xiao Qingge didn't dare to stop. She ran wildly, but the trees in front of her couldn't raise her speed. The distance between the demon beast and her was rapidly closing. A huge monster smashed into her, and a huge shockwave almost sent her flying. A large number of shadows covered the sky. Xiao Qingge raised her head, her face filled with disbelief and terror. A demonic black bear. At this moment, it stood on both feet. The dark and shiny body of the bear was nearly 10 meters long, and its bloodshot eyes stared at her as drool slid down the corner of its mouth. A demonic